Well, welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of the Reforming Nerdom podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jordan Cecile, and I am joined, as always, by my partners in crime, P. Nate, a.k.a. Pastor Nate, a.k.a. Nathaniel P. Wright. Nate, how are you?
I'm doing great. Had a great Christmas and looking forward to a nerdy new year.
Fantastic. And we're also joined by the one and only Ben of the Cloth, Benjamin, a.k.a. Ben Emery. Ben, how are you?
So good. Yeah, this is the first time we've all been together recording post-Christmas. So Merry Christmas to y'all.
How were your guys' Christmases?
I got this sweet mug from my wife that says my wife is hotter than my coffee. And and this coffee's pretty dang hot. So
there you go. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I got a coffee mug that says my wife is hotter than yours.
You know what I actually really want for a coffee mug? It's just I can't bring myself to buy it. They're too expensive. Those ones that stay heated, like they actually have like the battery and the in it.
And you can adjust the temperature on your phone and everything.
Because I'm even right now drinking a what is now cold cup of coffee that I had earlier, and it just made me think of that. It's like darn, and it just doesn't taste right when you warm it up in the microwave after. Like it just doesn't taste great. So
and it only stays warm for like 7 seconds after you microwave it.
Yeah, that's right. So
did you guys do any espresso makers that you can like steam the milk with? So that steamer actually can reheat your coffee, and it's a little bit better than the microwave. It's still not ideal, but it's okay.
Okay. Santa for next year. Did you guys do anything particularly nerdy over around Christmas?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I mean, we did, like we said on the Christmas episode, me and the boys did watch some Star Wars on Christmas Day. So we got a New Hope in and watched the Death Star blow up and all that good stuff. So played a little PlayStation.
Cool. Nate, what about you?
So personally, I've just been trying to. I'm in the midst of what they call the Sanderlanche right now, and so I am just reading Way of Kings, and I am within I think 150 pages of finishing that first book and loving every second of it. So I'm definitely doing that. The other thing I wanted to, because I was actually super proud of Judah. So my son Judah, who's only 7. We played a decent amount of Fortnite, which is like his favorite game. And so we just go back and forth. And so we had a good streak going where we had 4 first place finishes in a battle royale in a row.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
And that's going back and forth. So he got first, I got first, he got first. No, sorry. I got first, he got first, I got first, he got first. And then I got like...
You ruined it.
I ruined it. Yeah, that's right. And so that was the best streak we'd had, and we were pretty pumped about that.
That's actually incredibly impressive for him being a 7-year-old winning. Now, is that with building or zero build?
That's zero build. That was going to be my caveat. So that's zero build because and he's actually better at build than I am, but in the build one...
That's like the main reason I can't stand that game.
Yeah. So you play the zero build.
My brain just cannot do both of those things at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
I agree. It's fun. Yeah.
We actually just yesterday, Jordan, he was just like, I got to get Jordan's gamer tag so we can play with Jordan. I was like, yeah, we'll play with Mr. Jordan.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, you do. And he'd probably tune me because I think I've probably won maybe a dozen times, but like nothing with, I mean, you might be better than me, Nate. It sounded like you were on a pretty hot streak right there. So,
shooters are generally the video game I'm best at.
There you go.
From GoldenEye right through.
Yeah, we
Duck Hunter.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we ended up just like building quite a bit of Lego. We got Lego for our kids, so that was fun. And I was actually really disappointed.
Is the Millennium Falcon going?
So, status update. I have gone as far as I can with that because the Canada Post strike. The additional parts that I had to order, many of them came in. Actually, 2 guys in our church sell Lego. So I got it from them, a lot of it. But then there was a couple that I had some parts I had to get from other people, and it's delayed. So I'm
shout out to Boffman Bricks for that.
Yes. Yeah. One of our sponsors who you'll hear about later. But yeah, it's been a blast. I've been having fun, but I'm just like at a point now where I cannot continue without the parts. So I'm just like at a standstill now, which is funny enough. I found a guy on Marketplace because he was selling a $90 set for $40. And I was like, I just need to build some Lego right now. So so I got it for like $40 from him. And so I'm going to do that with the kids later today. Because, yeah, they're just adoring Lego. My Alice, we bought her some.
Is it another Star Wars one or just like a
the TIE Bomber.
Oh, no, that's what Theo got that for Christmas.
Yeah, so I got it for $40.
We did not pay $90 for that.
Oh, well, I think it's like on sale right now. Like they might be on sale, but on Lego it's like $85.99 or something like that.
Well, right now everything's crazy. I went on, so like the kids all got a little bit of just cash for Christmas, also to Boxing Day sales, like go buy whatever you want kind of thing. And so Thatcher wanted to get just a regular TIE Fighter Lego set. Mm-hmm. And they're sold out everywhere.
Wow.
And then so anywhere online that has them, yeah, they're like $80 or $90 just for like and it's not even a big set. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, no,
I don't get it.
Yeah, well, some of the Lego sets are just outrageous. It's crazy. So anyways, I will continue to provide a status update on the custom Millennium Falcon. So
I feel like that's got to be your background. Like when that thing's good, that's right in the background of your shot there, right?
I'm literally going to reorient my office based on how I can get that in a good in frame, because that's going to be sweet. So yeah, no, I've already got my plans for my Lego collection. My wife is absolutely thrilled that I'm wanting to build Lego. No. So anyways, that's
for
fun.
all of our listeners and not YouTube watchers, that was a
hard sarcastic
head nod.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, for good radio right there. But yeah, not thrilled. But anyways, we're having fun. The kids are having a blast. But well, and so for those who are sticking around here, just a reminder that we are Reforming Nerdom. Each and every week, we get together to talk about all things nerd culture, and all from an unapologetically Christian worldview. If you do love us and want to listen, you can go on page or on podcast services. If you want to watch the videos on YouTube, and you can join us on our what is becoming a very active Patreon and Discord community, which we're having a lot of fun over there. You should come check it out. And also, if you're interested in hearing what Ben and I think about Skeleton Crew, we're dropping episodes for that week by week to our reviews of the episode, our theories for upcoming episodes. So you can go check out those episodes as well. Now, before we get into today's topic of the show, I just wanted to get through a couple articles that were in the news, and they're related to our recent episode. One of them in particular from last week's episode, where we had Mr. Joe Boot talking about Star Trek, and it is about Star Trek Discovery. Now, Ben, I can't remember. Did you watch any Star Trek Discovery?
No, I watched one season of the Picard show, but I didn't watch any Discovery.
Well, here is an update on Star Trek Discovery, and it is it's death, which is wonderful. So this is an article actually written on the website, or from Worth It or Woke. It is written by Brent Decker, who's actually a Christian brother. In his bio, he says that he is a faithful Christian husband and father. So awesome. We'll definitely like to draw some attention to that. So this whole article is related to, there was some news that came out about the show, and he's wanting to provide a little clarity, but we'll let him speak. So in the article, he says, in relation to Star Trek Discovery, when it dropped in 2017, Star Trek Discovery boldly went to hell and quickly. It tackled flashy visuals, relentless drama, and a never-ending IV drip of modern ideologies. It's not overstating things to say that the voyage was anything but smooth. Criticism of its storytelling, disregard for legacy characters, and obsession with progressive messaging turned longtime fans away in droves. And now, not only has Discovery been canceled, but some claim it's been officially erased from the treasured Star Trek canon altogether. If true, this development marks a potential reckoning for Paramount, correcting course after years of alienating the fan base. But has it really been wiped from Star Trek history, or is this another ambiguous move to placate frustrated fans? From day one, Discovery sparked division. Sure, Star Trek has always leaned into progressive ideals, Captain Picard's relentless anti-theism in The Next Generation, but Discovery felt different. It pushed past classics, Trek's introspective exploration of race and unity toward agendas many fans find overbearing and just plain nuts. The result, a series that felt un-Star Trek. It was brooding, disjointed, and gritty in ways the franchise never needed to be. Now, here's where it gets interesting. While Paramount has officially canceled Discovery after its 5th season, the recent final episode of an animated show, Star Trek Lower Decks, which has also been canceled, seems to confirm that Discovery exists in an alternate universe rather than the prime timeline of iconic Trek. And fans point to a multiverse subplot in Lower Decks where Klingons are transformed into alternate reality versions, their design matching the disastrous Discovery-era Klingons. This, coupled with Paramount sidelining Discovery into the far future after disastrous early seasons, has fueled claims that Discovery has been quietly decanonized. Now, some people don't think that, or think that this means decanonized. He's not entirely sure. He says here further in the article, until Paramount explicitly states these moves as canon erasure, fans will likely remain split. To many, this feels like throwing a bone to to dissenters rather than a formal reversal. But regardless of whatever fans believe about Disney's status, the latest decisions reflect a franchise desperate to correct course. Between Discovery's cancellation, Lower Decks' demise, and Picard's 180 swan song, all eyes are on Paramount's next move.
So, I mean, I knew that show sucked from everything I heard from day one, basically. I am curious, because I know that this is kind of totally besides the point, but I know there's been a lot of talk over the years, ever since the disastrous Star Wars sequel trilogy came out, of fans wanting to decanonize.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, the franchises are so different. Like, I think you totally could, and easily, with that Star Trek show with Discovery, because what is affected if you decanonize?
Yeah,
like,
nothing,
right? There's no other
there's no ramifications.
Like, if you decanonize the sequel Star Wars trilogy, you've got Disney parks, you've got Lego sets, you've got video games, like that. There's just so much invested into that property that I would love for it to happen, but I just think there's zero chance that it happens. But
I agree.
Well, they like retconned like the second one, right? In all the stuff with Palpatine and Rey's.
Like now, like all the Mando stuff revolves around that plot line of Palpatine's return and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, I mean, especially a show like that, it's not part of the main arc, right? It's like where Star Wars is the Skywalker saga, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, even with the Chris Pine Star Trek movies, right? Like, they did a whole time travel thing. Therefore, it's set in a different multiverse reality, whatever.
Timeline,
the timelines, you can do whatever you want, which I thought was really smart. Actually, I thought it was a really smart way to retell the story, right, of like Kirk and young Kirk and Spock and stuff. But I mean, you can only do that so many times.
You can only do it so many times, and I think that you start to lose storytelling credibility if you kind of decanonize or you make it an alternate timeline too many times. But I think the positives that I took from this article were, number one, you have this, and we've talked about this a lot since we've even launched this podcast, is there is this slow drip, there is this slow walking back of all the DEI woke crap that was pushed down everybody's throat. And it seems as though, the powers that be are seeing that they need to satisfy their fan base. And I think that the ideological, warfare that goes on in the story writing of these things, I think they're just recognizing that alienating your fan base is ultimately going to hit your bottom line. So what they do with this is kind of inconsequential to me, because I've been out of, Star Trek, world for so long. But where I think this is good is that it's just showing that people recognize, who are making decisions, people recognize which way the wind is blowing, and hopefully they start making better decisions before producing entire shows rather than after, because it's a costly mistake.
What season did you say this was, Jordan? Is this like season 4 or 5, or did you say?
I think it's 5.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's a, goodness gracious, that's a long time to trudge along with a crappy property that nobody likes because of your ideological bent.
Commitments.
You know, like, man, that's, I mean, you got to hand it to them, I guess, for their commitment.
Yeah. They were committed to it. But I think it's just interesting how it's not just that they're canceling it, like they're actually potentially decanonizing it. Like that's
that's different, right? Like, it's not like,
other thing.
Again, you compare it to The Acolyte that just got canceled and was panned in, you know, maybe even worse than this show. Like, in terms of ideologically, it was probably more overt and worse.
Yeah.
And just quality of content wise was terrible and probably worse.
Well, I think you
and
could
yet
actually
and yet Disney is like, we're canceling, but like there's not even talk of like any sort of decanonization.
Well, and I think
that's quite significant to be like, yeah, we're just going to pretend it doesn't exist anymore.
Well, yeah, and it's what's interesting with The Acolyte. I didn't watch it, but from what I understand, it introduced some things that like actually changed like the nature of the Force and how it worked and was applied, or how we would understand it. So, like from Star Trek Discovery, it might just be like woke garbage with bad acting and bad storytelling, but it's like, did it fundamentally alter the trajectory and rewrite the history of the universe? Whereas like The Acolyte actually seemed to try to do that.
Yeah.
So I think you could make a better case for why The Acolyte should be decanonized and just like actually erased versus even Star Trek. But again, I haven't watched.
That's the thing, is like the argument for the importance of decanonizing something is different than the argument for like how easy it would be, right? Like the things that should be decanonized are the things that would be the hardest to decanonize, because they're the things that affect the most, you know, like you say, change the universe the most and change the storytelling of the franchise. And that's why this, like the Star Wars sequel trilogy is so bad, is because it now colors and affects both past Star Wars and anything that's created in the future for Star Wars in a negative way. So it's too bad.
Well, let's hope that something gets done to retcon The Acolyte, and because I mean, it's funny how Disney even acknowledges that nobody watched it. So it's like, it's not actually that hard. And I'm doubting many people watched Star Trek Discovery either.
No, I don't think so.
Their viewership. Was it even a Paramount Plus exclusive? Was it even on?
I remember, because even when it first came out, I was like, oh, because I think it had come out shortly, like in and around the time of that first Picard season. And I had been out, like Nate said, I'd been out of Star Trek for a long time. So I was like, I don't know, that might be interesting. I watched the first Picard season. It was pretty bad. And I was like, maybe I'll try that Discovery thing. But I couldn't even like access it anywhere.
Yeah. I think it was a Paramount Plus. So I don't even know. It was Paramount Plus, and I think it was when Paramount Plus maybe launched. So I don't even know if it would have been that huge of an audience that would have even been available to watch it anyways. So, but anyways, so I mean, good signs, positive things are happening there, which is encouraging. And so on to our second news article, and this is one that Nate, you might be particularly interested in. Ben, I'm not sure how versed you are in classics, but apparently Christopher Nolan's new movie is going to be on the Odyssey.
Oh, I saw that. Actually.
Yeah. So this is an article from Kotaku, and it says here that Christopher Nolan could make any movie he wants. And for his next project, he's opted to make an adaptation of the Odyssey, the ancient Greek epic poem about the gods messing with a weary guy by stranding him and his crew at sea for a decade as they fight to overcome cyclopses, sirens, and all manner of other mythological obstacles to get home. It could be bonkers. It will definitely be super expensive, and the movie is already sporting an all-star cast. And then in the article it says, quote, Christopher Nolan's next film, The Odyssey, is a mythic action epic shot across the world using brand new IMAX film technology. Universal Pictures announced at 5 p.m., 2 days before Christmas, like you do. The film brings Homer's foundational saga to IMAX film screens for the first time and opens in theaters everywhere on July 17th, 2026. And then it's Nolan's period biopic thriller Oppenheimer. about the making of the atomic bomb, pulled in nearly $1 billion at the global box office in 2023. And then he's also, everybody knows him of Dark Knight, Inception, Interstellar. And then it does mention here some of the people. Does it mention here some of the people in the cast? Maybe I didn't pull that out. But I think it has like Matt Damon, maybe like Zen. It has a large cast.
Yeah.
I
While we're
I
chatting
forgot.
here, you should look it up. I think it'd be worth reading off because I remember when I read it, it was like shocking.
Yeah, it was a huge
Yeah.
cast. Yeah, I thought.
I don't know. You want to start off? I definitely have some thoughts, Nate.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love the Odyssey. I love the Iliad. I love Homer, and so it's a great story. But it's I don't know. I don't know how it would almost be better off. I think as a series, is like a 12-part 1 hour episode series, just because there's so much to the story. It does, like he says, covers a decade. There's just so much time. So I 100% will see this. I think because I love the story, but I just worry about how they're gonna do it because there's sirens in it, there's cyclops, there's
So
mermaids.
what did you think of the Troy movie, the Brad Pitt Troy, which is essentially the Iliad?
So I actually think it had some really great moments. But I didn't. I thought it was just too Brad Pitty, right? Like
Right.
I think it revolved way too much around the super celebrity, guy. Even I think that there were some great things about it. I think what's his name who played Hector? The name's escaping me right now. Eric, yeah, he was fantastic.
Yep.
I thought that
Even Orlando Bloom as Paris.
yeah, like I thought
because Paris
the
is like
Hector or the Trojan side of things, everybody was well depicted. They got this sort of family dynamics well done. I just think that they made it, they just made Achilles way too much of a hero.
Yeah, I don't mind Achilles as a hero. My problem with the whole thing, and I fear that they'll do the same thing with the Odyssey, is just taking the spirit of Homer out of.
Yeah.
So it's like basically it's like let's tell the story of the Battle of Troy, but like the true story.
Right.
And it's just like Homer is the true story, guys.
Yeah.
Like that's the story that matters. And
Yeah.
it's like, so take all the gods and the goddesses out and take all of the like that literally is what the Iliad, the Iliad and the Odyssey aren't about Odysseus and Hector.
That's right.
They're about
It's about the Greek pantheon
and Zeus, and like that's what is actually like pulling all the strings. And I don't know, so it bothers me to do these like retelling the true story. So if that's what they do, I'll be disappointed. But I think you're right. Like the Odyssey almost has to be like a HBO miniseries type thing, like hopping from island to island, an episode per island.
That's not how Nolan does things, though, right? Like Nolan is going to do a 3.5. This is going to be probably like a 4-hour movie.
I know, but it's gonna like it's Nolan, so it's gonna be bizarre, and I mean like it kind of lends its hand to Nolan in the sense of like the story starts at the beginning with the Odyssey, and then like goes back in time, and like which is a very Nolan kind of thing to do. So I don't know, like Nolan's done some great stuff. It could be fun. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, his resume is like if there's anybody who I would trust this to right now, it would be Nolan. Like and I think you're right. I think if he does what they did with the Iliad and they made it sort of the human side of the whole thing and really humanize Odysseus and make him because you're right, if they don't bring in sort of the Greek pantheon, they don't talk about what the gods are doing behind the scenes, like it almost has to be a two-tiered movie, right? Like what's going on in sort of the realm of the gods and what's going on
and I think even more so with the so I think
way more with the Odyssey.
Yeah, right. Like Athena is literally maybe as much, if not more, of a main character than Odysseus is in terms of who's actually making things happen in this story of the Odyssey. But I think the Odyssey definitely does lend itself more to our like modern storytelling than the Iliad does.
I agree. Yeah.
So there's some positive things, like reasons for positivity.
Is this movie going to be, or is he going to find ways, do you think, to insert like sexuality and anything like that?
There's no shortage.
No, is it like
it's definitely.
I don't actually know the Odyssey like at all. I know it's important, it's classic.
I mean,
but
there's
I
a
don't know
significant
it.
amount of decapitations and
Okay. So like violence, but
Odysseus also finds himself like under the spell of the sirens. He finds himself a prisoner to Aphrodite. Like a sex slave to Aphrodite. So like
literal sex slave to a goddess. It's.
So there will be no shortage of possibilities, but I mean, I didn't see Oppenheimer.
The reason I didn't see Oppenheimer was because there's too many naked people in it.
Yeah. Okay. So that kind of answers my question. I knew that there was some stuff in it, and that's why I didn't see it. But like Nolan, when you think of the Dark Knight stuff, when you think of Inception and stuff, he's generally not a super raunchy guy.
Yeah,
unless he has other stuff that I just haven't watched, like Oppenheimer.
I think though with Oppenheimer is like he didn't have to have sex scenes in Oppenheimer.
And
like
just
that's a movie
chose to.
about the atomic bomb, right? And so I just wonder if now he's feeling like he has the freedom to do that kind of stuff. And so I guess we'll find out. But if it's the opportunities there, my suspicion is that it's going to be there. And
although when you look at I did pull up the cast while we were talking. So you got Matt Damon, you have Anne Hathaway, Charlize Theron, Robert Pattinson, Tom Holland, Zendaya.
It's a ridiculous cast.
I don't know who Zendaya is, but
that's
Mary
MJ,
Jane.
the new Spider-Man. That's Tom Holland's new girlfriend.
Oh, that's her. Okay. So, I mean, I don't know. Like Anne Hathaway, wasn't she like Princess Diaries? I don't know. I don't know what these actresses are up to now. So, like Charlize Theron obviously has no
more
problem
legitimate
doing
stuff since then. So she's quite accomplished.
No, I get that. I'm just wondering, like, based on the actresses they have, you wonder how much sex stuff there will be.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So who would be in the Odyssey? Who would be the characters that would be most likely to be in like a sex scene in the movie?
The problem is that like because the way it is, so like when Odysseus is a sex slave for Aphrodite, it's Aphrodite, but she has like she's literally the goddess of lust and love, right? So like she is
the entire island is just
the whole island is just a hedonist, place. So I imagine if there's going to be anything really lewd, it's going to be there.
Okay. Because Charlize Theron, I think she's done some I think she would have a willingness to do those kind of scenes, and she's Cersei. So I don't know.
Oh, does it actually attach character themes?
I'm looking at an article right now from Screen Rant, and it is saying, so not just the actors. So it mentions Matt Damon as Odysseus.
I don't like that.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah. So it's, I guess, so whether that is actually... okay, so this is the author of this article. This is who they're speculating. So
okay. Honestly, though, like if he's attached to the project, like I don't know who else he'd play.
Yeah. So
he might be a Zeus or
Yeah, maybe that's true. I guess.
So then they have Anne Hathaway. They're predicting as Penelope.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Tom Holland as Telemachus.
That's what I assumed. Yeah, the son, Odysseus' son.
And then Zendaya as Athena, and Robert Pattinson as Antinous. Yeah, how do you say that? Antinous?
I would have thought Robert Pattinson might be Odysseus.
He's not old enough.
True, but I mean, they also cast Angelina Jolie as Alexander's mother in Alexander, right? So Hollywood has a way of doing this stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like Odysseus has a grown son.
True. That's a good point.
Like
honestly, like Russell Crowe. It should have been Russell Crowe.
So then there's also this article is mentioning a couple other unconfirmed people who could be have roles. Kenneth Branagh. Do you know Kenneth Branagh?
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's you know him from Harry Potter. He's what's his name?
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, but then he's also Detective Crusoe or in those murder mystery things. So, yeah, I love him. And so the author of this article on Screen Rant is saying Kenneth Branagh as Menelaus.
Menelaus, yeah.
Menelaus. And then the other unconfirmed cast speculating Tom Hardy potentially as Nestor, the Killer King, and then potentially
It's like a
Andy
small role, but
Andy Serkis as Polyphemus.
My guess would be Andy Serkis will be the one-eyed Cyclops or something. Like,
Okay.
like it's just like playing some sort of CGI Gollum-like character.
I mean, he's like the best guy ever for doing those kind of roles. Yeah. So, anyways, that's I'm curious. I mean, if Nolan can do it, and like he's the guy who, man, he in terms of like this modern era's best director. Like, is there anybody who even comes close to him in terms of a director?
No, and he's got a very
yeah.
As Ben said, he's got a very unique way of telling stories, and it's gonna need a unique storyteller to tell this story like well in movie form, just because there's so many details you can attach in an epic poem that you can't get in. There's a lot that happens. It's a very jam-packed story.
Okay, how long is it? Like, how long would you estimate? Is it the Odyssey?
It's not crazy, honestly. It's shorter than the Iliad.
It is shorter than the Iliad, but it's a bit of a slug. Like, if you haven't read Homer before, he's not for the faint of heart. It's you
could get a prose
that's true. Yeah.
Version of it, and you could read through it in a few days.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to do that because, I mean, even just when we were talking with Josh and he was saying he goes back and forth between classics, that kind of, I feel challenged by that because I do read more newer stuff. So I'd like to do that. So I think this might be my first classic that I jump into.
It's the one to start. Like the Iliad is really tough.
Yeah.
If you're picking between the two, like the Odyssey is obviously after the Iliad in terms of like a timeline or whatever.
Chronology.
The Odyssey is the much easier read.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess there'd be some of our listeners who don't
familiar storytelling style to our like modern storytelling. The Iliad's very, very different.
Yeah, disjointed. So for some of our listeners who might not even be aware of this, so the Odyssey is Odysseus fights in the Trojan War. And the story of the Odyssey is his 10-year journey home. So he's already been, he's already been fighting for the Greeks against the Trojans for all these years. And then now this is his journey back home, and he heads home, and his kingdom is threatened, his throne, his bride.
His wife is getting all these suitors who are trying to marry her because they all think Odysseus is dead because he's been gone for so long.
Yeah. So it's got this sort of like, it's got this very strange anxiety that it builds in the reader where it's like, he's got to get home because, home is threatened, and yet it's a 10-year journey home. So it's this sort of like urgency stretched out over 10 years. It's interesting.
Now, do you guys like it for itself, or do you appreciate it just because it is a classic? Like, do you guys enjoy the book?
No, it's a good story. It's I really enjoyed it.
So, okay, so this is a plug for our upcoming classical Christian school that our church is starting in September of 2025. But reading classics, like true classics, not modern classics, is a muscle that you have to exercise. Like, you're not going to pick up, especially an actual poetry version of Iliad or Odyssey. Like, the prose versions are a little different. They're easier to read because they're prose.
It's what you're used to.
But even the prose, if you're not used to reading classics, like, you're probably not gonna love it the first time. It's not gonna be easy. It's different than what you're used to. But it's so worth it. Like, it's definitely something I would encourage everybody to do.
It's not unlike, I mean, it's different, but it's not unlike just appreciating Shakespeare. Like, like there's a lot of people who have never read Shakespeare outside of school, and they kind of plugged their way through the public school where you had to read Twelfth Night or whatever. But when you delve into it, you realize that these are the stories that kind of shaped us.
Yeah.
And so to be able to account for the shaping is
well, and that's a good point, right? So it helps you even appreciate something as silly as like a Marvel movie when you realize that, oh, okay, so this Marvel movie is actually just a take on this story, and this story is actually just a take on, this Shakespeare play. Shakespeare's actually just a take on Homer. And, it pretty much all goes back to Homer. Like pretty much all of our modern storytelling has its roots in Homer.
Yeah.
Homer in the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will
and Virgil.
Yeah, we will follow this. We will
I would say Virgil even has its roots in Homer. That's the thing. Like
I agree. I think the Aeneid is I like the Aeneid more than the Iliad or the Odyssey.
Okay. Yeah, you did like that men's ministry thing a while back, right, Nate? I think was that what you based it on, the Aeneid?
Yep. The Aeneid and
that lecture you did?
Yeah, I actually learned a lot of that from C.R. Wiley, just in terms of his comparison between the story. He kind of weaves the story of Abraham and the story of Aeneas together in a really cool, fascinating way.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, yeah, we'll keep our eye on this, and I'm sure when it comes out, if it is appropriate, we'll give it a watch and probably a review. But before we get to our topic of the show, which will just be answering some listener questions from our Discord community, let's just quickly hear a word from a couple of our sponsors.
Have you ever opened your internet browser in search of quality Christian books, only to find yourself wading through page after page of Joel Osteen books, Nerf guns, and tacky wall art? Thousand Generations Print Company is here to save the day. With a unique, family-owned approach, quick 24-hour processing, a commitment to providing heretic-free literature, and real human customer service, they focus on offering books that not only enlighten but align with Orthodox Christian teachings. And, being conveniently located in Southern Ontario, there's no more need to sell your left kidney to pay for shipping within Canada. Visit at actuallychristianbooks.com. Again, that's actuallychristianbooks.com. And order yourself anything from Haunted Cosmos to Sir Battle-Lot and use promo code NERDOM, that's NERDOM, all caps, and receive 10% off your next order. Thousand Generations Print Company, books for building, books for battling, for 1,000 generations.
I'm Brent, and I'm rebuilding LEGO Star Wars to be the best display and play LEGO models. I enjoy the nostalgia of Star Wars by creating LEGO sets designed for adults but can be handed down to children. I've spent far too much time obsessed with LEGO and Star Wars, and God made me far too creative to let it all go to waste. So I created a YouTube channel, Boffman Bricks, to share what I'm building.
Well, welcome back, everybody. And so now today we're just gonna go through and answer some questions. We asked our social media following and our Discord community some questions that they'd like us to answer. So we're just gonna go through, see how many we get to, and then we're gonna actually wrap up the show today with a new game that I think our listeners will have some fun playing along with as well. But all right, so our first listener question. It says, this was from our Discord community. Do you think we have hit the turning point for media becoming less woke and moving toward redemption, or is that something that has yet to happen? If it hasn't happened, what will be the primary reason or event that influences the change in direction? Do you guys think that we have hit that turning point, or are we still waiting for it?
Depends.
Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, well, I think it just depends on how you view it. Have we hit the turning point in terms of it's starting to go in a different direction? Yes. If you're talking about, like, have we hit the pinnacle of non-woke Hollywood? Like, not even remotely close. I just think, like, most of the changes we're seeing right now are pretty superficial. Like, it's just these companies looking
no lesbian space witches.
Yeah, well, they're just looking at the bottom line and saying
Yeah.
like, look, we can only do this for so long. Like, I don't think there's a ton of ideological change, like within Disney, for instance, that has happened. I think it's just our properties are tanking and let's try and, make some stuff people want to watch. So I think what was the question? Like, what is it? What's the like the thing or the reason that will actually change the direction? I mean, not to Jesus juke it, but I just think it's like our culture needs to find Jesus, frankly. like, like until people actually want to see good stuff, people aren't going to make good stuff.
Yeah. So the question is interesting. So have we hit a turning point? Yes. But the way the question was asked, it's sort of, media becoming less woke and moving toward redemption. So I would say it's maybe turning away from woke. I don't know if it's turning toward redemption, which kind of goes along with what Ben is saying. So for so long, our stories have not been about the story. They've been about the ideologies that the story can communicate. And I don't think we've landed yet on how to tell good stories again, right? So now they're recognizing, okay, the ideologies aren't selling. Now, what's going to be interesting is, can they tell good enough stories when the ideology isn't driving them? And I don't think we've hit that yet. And quite frankly, I don't know if like Disney and Paramount and Netflix, I don't know if they have the writers to do it. I mean,
no, because all their writers went to public school, never read Homer, and never read Virgil, and never read the Bible, and don't know how to tell good stories.
Right. And so I think I think I actually would say that now I think is a prime time for Christians to be investing in these kinds of things. Like we think about Marcus Pittman and Lure and all that kind of stuff. I just think now really is a good time for Christians to be telling good stories, because I don't think major video game companies, Hollywood writers, all this kind of stuff, I don't think that they're equipped to tell the stories when you pull out the ideological motivation for it. So what's going to happen, I hope, is that a few great stories will emerge and they'll kind of set a new baseline, set a new sort of, these are the kinds of stories that people want to consume. And I'm not saying nobody out there is good. We've talked, at length in this about, the good story of like even Maverick, right? We've talked about Maverick. It was a great story. So that it's out there. I just don't think that Hollywood or Disney or anybody else has sort of landed the plane on this is what they do want. They know what the audience doesn't want, but they don't know what the audience does want yet.
Yeah, I think a few of them have like accidentally stumbled into the secret sauce, but none of them actually know what the secret
now they're
sauce
trying to recreate it.
Yeah,
and they don't know how.
They don't know. It's like somebody accidentally made Kentucky Fried Chicken once, but they don't know what the whatever 14 specials.
Like you could have gone with anything, and you went with KFC.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the most delicious thing I could think about that has the secret recipe.
Ben, I think your comment about the public schools, I think that is going to play a much bigger part of this. That, like you have, like we were just talking about this at our family Christmas that we had, where like why is it that the mental health issues are being like as rampant as they are, and there's like my brother works with a lot of people with mental health issues, and so it's like, well, the problem that you have is you have an entire generation of kids who were told that they came from space dust, their life is meaningless, they have no value, they have no purpose. And so it's like, well, what hopeful redemptive story is going to come from the mind of a kid?
Out of that, we're going to make stories.
It's like what good is going to come from that way of looking at yourself, of the world? And so I think, there's like rapid rise of homeschooling and even like Christian education, but even like amongst non-Christians, the number of families that are now homeschooling their kids
or
who are getting them out, or private school. So, like even that is not going to fix it, because even ultimately a non-Christian education is still not helping anybody. But the public school system, private schools are still better than the public school system. And so I think the real change is going to have, like, I think this is just a multi-generation thing. Like, yes, I think like Ben, you were saying, we're living off of right now the benefit of the fact that those bad decisions led to terrible financial consequences. Like Disney, even as much as they hate God, they probably hate more the fact that their share price is half of what it was 5 years ago.
They hate God, but they love mammon.
Yeah, that's right. And so they really don't like that. So now they're like having to correct course. But yeah, like we're not going to see good stories probably until our kids start writing those stories.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with. I'd love
Yeah.
it if, Claire wants to write the next dope Star Wars movie. I'll be there for it.
Yeah, she might too. She's got a wicked imagination.
We'll even do the after show.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Wouldn't it be great if this podcast got to the point where like it created opportunities for our kids to go into like nerd culture with Claire's like creative mind and like, I don't know. It'd be cool.
That's like honestly my dream for this whole thing is that we could be a part of, influence in some way, or just be like, parallel with just this new economy of like Christian comic books, Christian kids stories, and I think even like we're hearing from people who are just commenting on our social media posts.
Just to interrupt you for 1 second though, like I would specifically say, Jordan, I wouldn't even use the adjective Christian, like Christian comic books. Christian, just
I agree. Yes,
good Christian, as in they're made by Christians.
Yeah, the worldview,
have a worldview that is Christian, and but it's like they're not Bible man or
and because like that needs to happen, because there's a new comic book company called like the Ripaverse. Have you guys seen him on Twitter or anything? I forget the guy's name who runs it, but he's like very outspoken. He's definitely a right wing leaning guy, conservative guy. Not sure if he would consider himself a Christian or not, but rebelling or kind of going against modern comic industry, which is just awful.
Right.
Like,
It's just gross.
Like there was literally an episode of the Avenger, or a comic of the Avengers, telling kids to get the COVID vaccine. Like in the like it was just, it's done, it's gone, just it's got to die. But even in the problem with that, with the Ripaverse stuff, which it's not telling woke stories, but like the women characters still are, gigantic cleavage with huge busts and like scantily clad. It's like, well, that's not great, right? I wouldn't read that. And so, I think hopefully we can
this Christless conservatism.
That's it.
Is not a good alternative.
Yeah. Well, what was it?
Almost more insidious.
Yeah, the Daily Wire guy. What was because there's Shapiro, and then what's the guy? His like handles like God King.
I'm not sure which. Clavin,
like CEO of Daily Wire, but he launched his own like razor company in response to Harry's.
Oh,
is that Jeremy?
Yeah.
Anyways, Jeremy's right, but in the commercial, it's like these women with like their boobs half hanging out, and it's like, what are you doing? Like but it's sad because I think that's a reflection of even like conservative guys. They still want to see that. They just don't want to be told that. They just want to see that that's a woman and not some dude, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of the difference.
They just want to know that they're real.
Yeah, like those are it's an actual woman.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so I think we're positive direction, moving in a good direction, but not quite there yet. Okay. Second question: what media, this can be a show, a movie, or game, have you really wanted to consume but can't because it is past redeeming?
The answer for me, I guess for just a single choice would be Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Or basically anything that looks like it could be a decent show aside from the naked people that are in it. Like we even talked about Oppenheimer. It's like it looked and sounded like a pretty cool movie. I can't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured we get some Game of Thrones answers, so I anticipated with a different one. Game of Thrones, I think, just because of it was we've talked a lot about the kind of build up and the culmination of the MCU with Thanos and all that Endgame. I feel like Game of Thrones had in the first few seasons had a similar sort of cultural buzz where everybody was talking. It's sort of like when Walking Dead came out, right? It's like everybody was watching Walking Dead, everybody was watching Game of Thrones, and so I knew, like, man, dragons and knights and giant direwolves, that sounds right up my alley. But I literally watched half of the first episode and just couldn't watch anymore. And so Game of Thrones would definitely be up there. The only one I anticipated that I also wanted to say, maybe it doesn't fit as much on a Reforming Nerdom podcast, but Yellowstone. I really wanted to watch. I really wanted to watch that. I watched the first episode. I was enthralled by it, but way too much sex in that too.
Yeah.
And did you see what happened in the finale here recently, just in the last week or two?
Yeah.
Of Yellowstone?
Yeah.
No.
Where they just like handed all the land back to the natives and
Oh no! Did they actually?
that's not.
All the death and the killing and the sex for nothing. Yeah. Of course. There's a great line in that show where I love Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is like one of my sneaky favorite actors. Not because he's necessarily a great actor, just I love all of his movies. Like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves is one of my absolute favorites. But when in Yellowstone, I think it's the first or second episode, he says, if somebody had all the money in the world, this is what they'd buy. Only a fool would sell it for money. I was like, oh, that's a great line.
For me, it would be there's kind of two, like, because I really like video games, and so the one would be what is going to be coming out soon, Grand Theft Auto 6, and just because, like, as somebody who appreciates video games, like the technology, the quality of the animation, the world, the things you can do, it's just absolutely incredible what they can do. But like even Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean, any Grand Theft Auto game at this point is probably off limits, but I mean, there's a big difference between GTA 3 Liberty City and GTA 5, where there's actually explicit nude, like, sex scenes in that game. And so it's just like, even for somebody who would just like to drive around the world because like the animations and the reflections of the sun on the car are just like breathtaking, I think it's just incredible. But I can't go anywhere near that game anymore because it's just pushed so far beyond what is appropriate. And then the other one similar to that would be a game called Cyberpunk 2077. I don't know if you guys would even know of that game.
Seen it.
It came out a couple years ago. But... Yeah, same company that did The Witcher, CD Projekt Red. Probably the most breathtaking game visually ever made. But again, it's just like part of the story is like you actually have to go and have sex with characters, and you can go and do all these very nefarious things, and it shows it, and there's nudity.
How creepy is it? These game designers,
I know,
they're just like, we've developed the most breathtaking visual, like medium video game ever created. So let's go put a bunch of naked women in it, naked virtual women in it. Oh my word!
Well, people don't realize that a lot of it is the sex industry that has really pushed technology. In like streaming technology was pushed by the porn industry. VR technology now, people might not realize, is largely being pushed by the porn industry, and it's just like it sells, right? And so it's just right when you see these advancements in technology, it's likely being funded largely by the sex industry in some way or another. So like we have YouTube, sadly in many ways we have porn to thank for YouTube, because it was that industry that revolutionized streaming technology, buffering, the whole thing, and it's which is crazy. But yeah. Ben, what about you? Oh no, you said
I said Game of
Thrones
and/or anything that looks good but has naked women in it.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is the other one for me. I was the weirdo at work when everybody was talking about it, and I was like, I have no idea. I don't know. And they couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, I can't watch it. So I was that weirdo, but that's okay. Okay. Question number 3. What game taught you how to game? This could have kind of different meanings. We could take it differently, but how do you guys take that? What game taught you how to game?
I took it as like, what game taught me how to like grind out beating a game for the first time. And for me, I think, I mean, like there's games where I grinded out. When I was really young, I was actually really into like sim games. So like Sim Tower, Sim Farm, I love Civilization, all those kind of games. Put a lot of hours into those. But the game that really was like a popular game that taught me how to grind it out and beat a game was Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That game, I just wanted so badly to beat that game and would not give up until I did.
Nice. Did you beat it?
Oh goodness, yeah.
Good.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And like in a time period where things were so different that I actually, for the longest time, thought it was called the Ocarina of Time. Just like that's how, like, we didn't even have the internet to tell us
Yeah.
how to pronounce the word, like, it's just, you think back on it, you're just like, man, what a different time to be a gamer. I can't just like, oh, YouTube walkthrough, I can't beat this level, I'll just in 5 seconds figure out how to solve this puzzle. Or, it's like, you gotta grind it out, try every possible thing, maybe ask one of your friends at school the next day if if they've beaten it and what they did, but like, that's it. Like, that's all you got, unless you're gonna go and spend all your allowance money on one of the like game walkthrough magazines at EB Games or whatever. Like, it was a totally different time.
Yep. Nate, what about you?
So, I'll give one quick answer just because I've been looking to mention this video game on the podcast and I haven't got to yet. So my first answer is Kingdom Heart. I don't know if you guys ever played that. It was a great little series where they brought in Disney villains and Final Fantasy and all this kind of stuff. But they just that game was really good at using a variety of different mechanics for bosses and levels and things like that, where you had to like figure out the mechanic for that particular boss. So I just thought that was a really neat, and I love that game. It was super nostalgic, where you have to fight Jafar and you have to fight, Cruella. You have to fight. That was just a really cool blending of a lot of nostalgic childhood things, and the mechanics are really good. But the one that's probably my real answer is Star Wars: The Old Republic. So I don't know if you guys ever played that. It's
the multiplayer one.
Yeah, it's like an online multiplayer game. It was.
I never did actually play the online one.
So that was the first like MMORG that I ever played. It's got raids. You have to you have to be in raid parties and stuff like that. So that was the first game for me where I learned like about, playing with people online and raiding and having to talk through raid mechanics and stuff like that. So I would say, Star Wars: The Old Republic. And that one also teaches you, unfortunately, in our day, it also had to teach self-control because there's so many like microtransactions and things that you can purchase there. So it also teaches self-control a little bit. But definitely Star Wars: The Old Republic. I loved that game.
I remember the first online game I played was Warcraft, like the original Warcraft 1. And on the computer, and just like, it blew my mind, the fact that I could play this game with real live people
somewhere else.
And the even then, how it was like an instant part of the online gaming culture was trolling people you're playing against with little messages that you type in the bottom,
or teabagging from Halo, right? Like all that stuff where you kill somebody and it immediately became part of the culture.
That's good. For me, I guess there were two that came to mind. One was, the first one that came to mind was Medal of Honor on PS2. Or no, would it be PS2 or maybe PS1? It was the first-person shooter game that I played where I had to start using 2 analog sticks. And like, obviously for those of us who played N64 with probably the weirdest controller ever built, where just like the single analog stick, and so then going into PS...
Jordan, when I was over at your house, whenever that was, and you had GoldenEye hooked up on the TV, that was the hardest thing I've done.
It's crazy, right?
Like, to go back to the single analog is so strange.
I know. So that was like such a massive thing, and I remember it being really quite hard to get the timing, and because then you have to also figure out, like, do you like that inverted versus not inverted for the up and down, and so that was just like such a big thing. But the one that from when I was younger, that was it was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, but on like the Game Boy Advance is like the one that I just crushed that so much. I mean, it was I'm more of a portable gaming guy. Like, I really love playing just handheld. And so when I got that, I spent, I couldn't tell you how many hours just playing. It's like figuring out the combos and stringing things together. So it's like, it helps you in like fighting games if you're wanting to string combos together. So that was just like a huge one for me, where just like even memorizing or figuring out combinations on things, and just like that muscle memory of things like that. So
that series had a great run. That
Oh,
Tony, there was like 3 or 4 of those in a row that were just.
they I don't know if you guys played the re-release. They remastered it for
Oh, really?
for next gen consoles.
I did
Incredible, and
Hmm.
it looks the way that you remember it.
Yep.
But then you go and look at back what it was in like PS1. It's like, oh wow,
So bad.
this
Yeah,
was
I
not
have it
great.
for Xbox, regular Xbox or 360. I think it was just regular Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I put a good number of hours into that
Yeah.
game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember which one of those Tony Hawks.
I'll still every once in a while just hop in and play for like 10 minutes and do a run like in the mall. I can't remember if it was
Oh, that was the best.
Tony Hawk,
That was
if
the
it was
best
one or
level.
two. And yeah, you do the run down the wall or the one with like the canyon where you're going through and doing yeah, I love it. Love that game.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Which beloved franchise do you not like?
I had a hard time with this one, actually. I couldn't think of too many that are well loved that I like, or that I don't like. The one that finally came to mind is more the modern version of it. I don't like I'm gonna say Dune. I have no problem. The book is fine. It's not like my favorite, but I don't dislike it. But the new Dune movies just did absolutely nothing for me.
Huh.
I didn't enjoy them. Like I literally fell asleep watching the first one.
Okay.
So yeah, that's my answer. Dune. Sorry. Whatever that guy's name is. Oh shoot.
Are you talking the actor or the director?
Yeah, the actor.
Chalamet?
Yeah,
Chalamet?
Chalamet. I don't get
Chalamet?
people's love for that guy either. He's just like a little
He has a super beta in like
Yeah.
real life, so it's hard to
Anyway.
take him seriously. I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Nathaniel.
So, this kind of goes, maybe we'll have more of a conversation on this than we thought since you already mentioned it in this episode, Jordan. But I was going to say the Grand Theft Auto series is, I remember when Vice City was all the rage and it just did nothing for me. The one came out where it's like you're in the hood or whatever. My brother was big into that. I lived with
San
him
Andreas,
at the time. I just thought, San Andreas.
Yeah.
I just thought the game was just so gay. I just hated it. I thought it, like, go and steal 10 things from this lady. Like, I just thought I just thought it was stupid. I couldn't stand it.
That is a hot take. But I mean, like, were you when were you like actually saved? What age would you have been? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I would have been I wouldn't have been when Vice City and stuff came out.
No. Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been like, it probably would have been in the San Andreas time area.
See, like, for me and my buddies when we were playing it, it wasn't really even about the story. It was just how long could you have your 5-star rating
not
up
get caught by the
and not get
cops.
caught.
Yeah. That
right?
was
Like that was like in high school. We went to my buddy's house like a couple times a week sometimes to and we would just play that and just like eat our lunch and play it. But it was who could last the longest with the 5-star rating. Because admittedly, like I've played through in terms of like the stories. I think I did Liberty or just whatever GTA 3 was and a couple others, but it was just mostly just like goofing around and breaking the law. That's really what
right.
Yeah. So for me, I'm curious if this is going to be sacrilegious to you guys. To some, I know it will be, but I hate Seinfeld.
wow.
Okay.
I cannot
Wow.
stand Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know what it is. I find him to be 0% funny. And I don't know why. I just don't find him. I know
Wow.
some people, it's like, that is just, how dare you? And growing up, I, for whatever reason, liked Friends more. And like, so I watched Friends growing up. And I don't know if you have to like one or the other, but I just liked Friends growing up. And
I never watched an episode of Friends till I was an adult, and I watched very little Seinfeld until I was an adult. And so I don't have a huge like affinity to either.
Okay.
But like I like Seinfeld.
Yeah.
See, I love Seinfeld.
Yeah,
that was a big one.
I think like Friends, in hindsight, and now being a Christian, I think it's probably one of the most destructive pieces of media to ever be created.
Seinfeld was pretty bad too, actually.
Would it have? Because I know like the thing with Friends, which was so damaging, it's just like created this image of these young, attractive people just hooking up with anyone, whoever, whenever, and it was just like, yay, look at us, everything is great. Like was Seinfeld pushing that kind of thing as in the same kind of way?
It was. I mean,
Slightly.
everybody in a '90s sitcom had like sex with no consequences with like
Yeah.
dozens and dozens of partners, and they all shared chlamydia.
Yeah.
But the other thing that Seinfeld did was like, they did it in a self-aware kind of way. But like Jerry and George often joke about how they're not men, how they're just boys, they don't grow up, right? And so it was really destructive for that idea of masculinity, I think.
Sure.
And then there are episodes that like if I've rewatched where, you know, Elaine won't date this guy who seems like the perfect guy, except he's pro-life. And so she won't date him because he doesn't support a woman's right to choose and that sort of stuff. So it was definitely ahead of its time in terms of pushing a lot of social justice and social ideological crap. But I did find it very funny, and I watched a lot of it. So your take surprises me, sir.
Yeah. And I'm not even gonna like spend the if I'm watching a sitcom type show, it's gonna be The Office. I'm not gonna go back and watch Seinfeld. Like yeah. Okay, how about one more? This one, I don't know if this will be super long, and then we'll get into our 20 questions game. Which role in a movie or TV show should never be recast?
You skipped.
I did. Yeah.
Oh,
There's
man.
a few other questions here, but just given time and everything.
Okay.
I thought
All
this
right.
would be
All right.
just because this with the reason why I'm asking this one is we've been talking about Superman, and with Henry Cavill being recast, I just figured this one actually was.
Yeah, I agree. So I
relevant.
did go back and listen to your guys' intro to the other episode where you were talking about Superman and largely agreed. And I think it's a shame. Like, honestly, I'd have just like screw the
difficulties of it.
Who cares if we're starting over? Like, just use Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a few here, and basically how I looked at this was I actually think the reason you can't, if there's ever a reason you can't recast a character, it's more about the actor than it is the character. And so it's like which actor just literally like embodies the character that they played. So I have a few as examples of what I'm thinking about, considering I'm just like one in particular, but it would be like Johnny Depp playing Jack Sparrow. Oh, no one could ever do that again.
Yeah.
Someone like Jim Carrey playing The Mask.
Yep.
Like, who's gonna do that? Or Schwarzenegger playing Terminator, like that particular Terminator. Like stuff like that is kind of just what I'm thinking. But I think my best answer is Johnny Depp playing Jack Sparrow. Like, he is.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, Nate.
It's hard because I was thinking about like, so I'll tell you what actually comes to mind, and this might actually, so the guy who comes to mind is Heath Ledger as the Joker, and yet here we are, right? And you had
5 seconds later they redid it.
And they had to, obviously, because he died. But I've struggled with every other Joker since him, and it's partially because I just think. I think it was such a tragedy that Heath Ledger didn't get to play the Joker more than that one time. So because of that, though, and they have recast the Joker, and what's his face, Joaquin Phoenix did a fine job. I don't know that there's anybody that's like sacred. Like, I think Jack Sparrow is actually a really, really good one. But I was thinking like Indiana Jones, probably.
I could see, but like. So
yeah, that's it. When you start thinking about it,
the hugest Indiana Jones fan, I could totally see them do like just like starting a young Indiana Jones. Like I could see that, and I could see it not sucking.
Like a Tom Holland even coming in a few years doing that kind of role. Yeah.
Yep. And the other guy, like I was thinking of Han Solo, and I'm like, I was actually one of the guys who was advocating for. I always forget
that Eckhart guy. I thought he did a good job.
He was fantastic. So all that to say, I think that the amount of characters that you can't recast are pretty low. But I do think Jack Sparrow is a really good one. So I don't really have any sort of sacred, like, you can't redo that. Because especially coming out of the Christmas season where I've just watched Alistair Sims was the best Scrooge, and yet Patrick Stewart did a great
You had
job.
tell Michael Caine that he's not Ebenezer Scrooge.
That's
Give me a
right.
break.
Well, I
So-
think there's also something to be said about when the actor is no longer like in a position to fill that role, right? Like if Harrison Ford, I mean, he doesn't have much time left. So in like 20 years from now, I don't think Harrison Ford's getting for another, or going to be here for another 20, 25 years. But it's like at that point,
It was basically CGI Indiana Jones in the last movie anyway.
yeah.
that's a good
Well, I
point.
mean, if they took, oh man, why am I drawing a blank on his name? The guy who did the acting for the video game, like he had the voice, he had the mannerisms, but again, you wouldn't want it to be exactly the same guy, but like he could do a faithful, I think.
I remember, so
character.
years ago, like 10 years ago, when Chris Pratt was kind of in his heyday, there was talk of an Indiana Jones reboot.
Yeah,
with him.
Yeah.
It was like right around when like Guardians 1 came out and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I think he's like a little too goofy. But I could see, that's just a character I could see being recast.
Yeah. The one that I just, as of right now, just can't imagine would be Gandalf, like Ian McKellen as Gandalf. Like to me, he just seems, we're watching through Lord of the Rings right now, and it's just, he seems perfect. He's just, to me, he is Gandalf. Now, again, you could grab another old British guy, throw a beard on him, and he's going to look good. I mean, I think some people were divided.
And I didn't even notice.
No, like, and that's it. Like, I was just going to say that. And I thought that guy actually did a great job. I mean, the other actor died, so you got to do something. So it's not like they removed him just because they didn't like him. And it ended up being totally fine, and people forgot. And so I think if you get the right actor, it's okay. But I just think Ian McKellen, to me, just seems like he's Gandalf. And
I mean, honestly, that's one of the most perfectly casted movies.
Oh, yeah.
Except for maybe
Seriously.
Frodo.
I feel like that's an episode in and of itself, is maybe looking at that and just like talking about the movies itself. And like, who would you have would you have cast somebody differently in that role, in any of those roles? Like, I don't know if Nate, you kind of seemed doubtful there over Frodo. Would you? Do you have
I thought Frodo was fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think he. I didn't think he
thought
did
he was a
bad.
bit of a wiener, but that's me.
But Frodo was kind of weenie. He was kind of a bit of a weenie.
Yeah.
There were weenie moments.
Did they ever say why they cast him to be like in the movies the same age as, or like appeared to be the same age, when in the books he's so much older than the other guys?
Well, it's because they totally cut out the first 20 chapters of Fellowship, which establishes the fact that they're a totally different age. And so I just think they just didn't care. They just didn't need to.
Okay.
So have this like buddy group of 4 guys that are all the same age made more sense, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that is our listener questions for today. And if you're listening and you have a question you want us to ask, just you can drop a comment on the video on YouTube, or you can email us at reformingnerdom@gmail.com. We'd love to have more, or even better, you can join our Patreon and our Discord community, and you can drop a question in there. And
I'm sure when this episode goes live, there will be plenty of debate in the Discord.
Yes. Which will be lots of fun.
We talk about why Ben's answers were the best, and
That's right. Yeah, there's a whole sub channel there on just like praising Ben.
Yeah.
It's a pretty quiet channel, actually.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, we're now at the time, listeners. We're before we wrap up, we're gonna try a new game today, and we hope that you play along. It is 20 questions, fairly simple. And the way this is going to work is I have chosen a category, and Nate and Ben have 20 questions to figure out what property this is. So I'm going to tell you any given time we do this, it could be a movie, a TV show.
So Nate,
video
are we
game.
going to go like back and forth?
Yeah,
Like,
let's alternate.
Yeah.
You guys, whatever. So you have 20 questions to ask to figure out this movie, and I have the facts for this movie up in front of me. And so,
oh man,
get going.
You want to start, Nate?
We talked a little bit about categories, right? So are we just free
movie.
for all? We got to
category is movie.
The broad
Category is
category
movie?
This is a movie. You have to try and figure out the movie. You have 20 questions.
So don't ask, is this a movie?
Yeah.
No, no. I've helped you that much.
And it's yes or no, right?
Yep.
Okay. Was the movie made in the last 20 years?
It was not.
Ooh, okay. Good question. So what's that? That gets us to, holy crap, 2004 was 20 years ago? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. Is this a Disney property?
No.
Would the movie be considered fantasy?
No.
Would it be considered a children's movie?
No.
Would it be considered science fiction?
No. That is 5 questions.
All right. Is the lead character a male?
Yes.
Does the movie take place in the future?
No.
Is the movie based on a book?
Okay. I'm not actually sure. Give me 1 second.
Your
One
Googly machine.
is I want to make sure. Yes, it is based off of a book.
An obviously not well-known book.
I might just depend. Yeah.
So it's not fantasy, it's not science fiction, it's not set in the future. There's a male lead, and
Not Disney.
It's not Disney, and it was made before 2004. Should we get the era down? Like, are we talking about like
That might be helpful, yeah.
Yeah. I was born in 1984, for reference. Was the movie made in my lifetime?
All right, skip down another 20 years.
Yes.
All right, so between 84
In 2004.
and 04. Okay. All right, so probably like a 90s movie, but it's not science fiction or fantasy.
I mean, that could be, I think,
Like a drama,
Gladiator, like Gladiator-esque.
historical fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, is this a historical fiction?
No.
Okay.
Trying to think, like, he's gonna pick something that would work on Reforming Nerdom, right? So it's
That's
like,
true.
but
Maybe.
but no sci-fi, no fantasy, no. The movie that I had in mind, which is why
Unless Jordan's like, guys, Superman is
Guys,
real
it's
life.
actually, guys.
Totally happened.
Oh boy. Okay.
You have 10 questions. You have 10 questions.
I mean, we're
remaining.
halfway there, and we know nothing except for when this movie was made, and that it has a male lead actor.
And it has a male lead, and it's not sci-fi or fantasy. It's not Disney.
I think. Are you up?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is kind of a subjective question, so tell me if you're going to answer it. Was the movie considered a box office success?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you know what? Let me clarify. Box office success, less so.
So like middling success.
Or maybe it became a cult classic?
Yeah.
What about something like Breakfast Club? Ben? I'm thinking in that direction now.
Club?
Sorry?
So do you want me to ask if it's
no. I'm just thinking like I'm thinking of like genres of movies. Right?
Yeah. Are animals a like either like a character or like heavily involved in the story?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You're thinking Evan Almighty, weren't you? That's the movie that. Oh, that's. Okay. Is there much CGI in the movie?
No.
Okay, so that probably lends towards.
Yeah, like not.
Is it a drama?
Yeah.
Okay, so like not a comedy,
Right.
per se, or yeah.
Is the protagonist under the age of 18?
I will say no.
How many questions do we have left?
Not many. Like 5?
So wait, that was protagonist. We are at 14 questions.
Grief. Okay. Is the main character, does he act in a like superhero franchise?
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm thinking okay. Is this give me a second. Like Goodwill Hunting? Like that, right?
Okay.
It's got Affleck. It's a more of a drama in that era.
Right.
Something along those lines.
How would you even get? Did the movie win any Academy Awards?
I'm going to say no. Just let me confirm though. I don't think it did.
Oh man.
No, it did not.
You couldn't just pick like Batman or something.
Nope.
Jeez.
I'm gonna try to make you guys earn it.
So it's a drama.
Yeah.
Made between 1984 and 2004. It's got an actor in it who's.
Oh, it's based off a book.
Yeah, but he didn't seem to.
Yeah, but is it like one of those like
off.
Clancy, like Tom Clancy, or
Ooh.
you know what I mean? So it's
Hunt
like
for the Red October kind of thing.
Cruise. You know what I mean? What are some of those?
Like the Jack Ryan books and stuff.
Yeah, like any of those. I don't know.
What about James Bond? Could be a James Bond.
It could be a Bond film. That's true. Could be a Bond film. We never did even. Yeah, but it's a drama, not like an action movie.
Yeah, that's right. Good point. But see, I'd put like the Jack Ryan stuff in the action category as well. But
yeah, but not like the courtroom ones, like the courtroom
true.
dramas. You know, like.
Okay, is the movie part of a series?
No.
Okay, so it's a one-off. We only got a couple.
You have 3 questions, 2 questions, and a guess.
Dude, I am just utterly lost. Is this like a buddy film? Is there more than one main actor?
Yep.
Hot Tub Time Machine or something?
Yeah.
Once again, though, it's a drama.
So, do you guys want a little bit of a hint?
We'll finish our last. What, we got one question left?
You have 1 question to guess.
Give us a hint so we can ask one helpful question and then we'll guess.
Okay.
What's our hint?
Oh, sorry. So was the actor in a superhero franchise?
Below that line.
That is, I think, helpful, and just say that it was not their involvement in. I don't know if this is going to be too much of a spoiler.
All right, I have an idea. I think I have an idea. Is it a courtroom movie?
No.
Oh, okay. I don't have an idea.
Well, you did.
So-
It was just a bad one.
So
My guess was that it was A Few Good Men, and that the actor was Nicholson, who played
The Joker.
in Batman.
So yeah, following. So you have time for a guess, and that the hint would be this is not a beloved superhero movie that this actor was also in.
Beloved superhero
Not.
movie?
Not one that people love.
How new is the superhero movie that he acted in?
Newer than this movie.
Yeah, I figured.
Within the last 15 years, we'll say.
Okay, so it's not a super new superhero movie. Okay. I don't know. It's still
Could it be like American History X? Edward Norton played the Hulk.
Oh yeah. Now you're
That
on
kind of fits all our categories here.
I saw a smile from Jordan over there. Honestly, what the heck else are we gonna guess?
Yeah.
Yes, I like
All
that.
right.
I
American History X.
In fact, I love it.
That is not correct. The answer is Fight Club.
Oh, no.
You got the right guy.
Yeah,
I did
that's
get the right
That's
guy.
why I smirked. It's like, oh, you're gonna do it, and then
You got the right
You
guy.
said the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which was like, yeah, it's a buddy. It's
let me leave my.
For listeners, Nate has
Nate just walked
Nate
away.
He's
He's
so
really upset about this.
He's really upset right now. All right, where are you, Nate?
He's at his bookshelf beside his computer. I know what he's going to
The
grab.
thing that kind of threw me off about this is that not only is it based on a book, but it's by a great author named Chuck Palahniuk, who kind of goes back. I have several of his books.
Oh wow.
And Chuck Palahniuk. So yes, I should have gotten it. The fact that you didn't know it was based on a book definitely threw me off. They had to look that up because that's how I was actually introduced to that movie because I love Chuck Palahniuk. But it also, full circle in our conversation, Chuck Palahniuk was one of my favorite authors until I got saved. Because this is one of those things that can't be redeemed. And I still have the books because I can't make myself throw them out.
Listeners, Nate just showed 5, 6 different of his books that were right on his bookshelf immediately to the right of where he is. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah. So I should have got it. That's my point.
Anyways, hey, you guys got you got close. One more question, you would have had it. You would have had it. Yeah.
We can say that, but we didn't even know.
Does the movie cover have a bar of soap on it?
Yeah, that's right.
That was my next question.
There you go. Well, next time, boys, you can redeem yourself.
That'll be my first question next time.
You know what? I don't want it just to be easy, right?
Yeah,
could have been
that's true. That was tough. That was
Spider-Man.
tougher than I expected it was going to be.
Yeah. So I have a list. We're going to work our way through. But anyways, listeners, we hope that you enjoyed that as well. If you were able to figure out it was Fight Club, let us know. If I was unfair in that,
our questions were so bad. There's no way anyone figured it.
Admittedly, for you guys, it will get better because there's a podcast that I used to listen to called Game Scoop, and they do this every week, but it's video games, and they just have a set number of questions. They just the first 3 or 4 questions are pretty much the same
Gets
one.
you close.
And you can you learn how to filter things out and eliminate multiple things at the same time. So
I am gonna get better at this.
Oh yeah, you will.
I think we also have to we have to because it felt like the first 5 questions we were both going in different streams.
Yeah.
So it's we got to talk it out more?
I would say it's probably better not to necessarily go back and forth and to come with a unified question so that you aren't kind of going and competing different things and just talk about like, okay, what's our question? Then ask it. So then you're not going in, potentially different directions. Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah,
listeners,
thanks for letting us know now.
figure it out, boys.
Great
Figure it out.
guy to have around the day after an emergency.
That's right. So anyways, listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you had fun. We certainly did. And again, if you want to listen to more of our stuff, you can check us out on podcast services on YouTube. And we'd love it if you join us over on Patreon and our Discord community. But until next time, stay nerdy.